What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back with another video. Hey, lighting's better. Lighting's a lot better. We got the ring light here back. I still need to adjust it a little bit better in the coming videos, but my goodness, the lighting is leagues better than the previous X amount of episodes you've been watching here on Johnny on the Track. But yeah, today I just wanted to make a video with some kind of superlatives and predictions I see as we really approach the Daytona 500. Clash has been moved. It's now Wednesday night. But I think it's still kind of fresh in my mind with a lot of these superlatives. I don't think anything that I see in the Clash will change anything about these predictions whatsoever. So I'm gonna end with who I am giving out at this moment, or who I think is going to be my champion. I may have alluded to it on previous videos, but um, let's get into some of these kind of awards, superlatives, predictions that I'm putting together. The first one, we'll start with the easiest one. There's only one rookie this year, and his name is Connor Zilisch. So Connor Zilisch, by default, is the rookie of the year. But I do think overall we are going to see flashes of Connor Zilisch and why this kid is going to be a superstar for years and years and years to come. I don't know if it'll end up being all at Trackhouse Racing. I think one day you're going to see him driving for Hendrick Motorsports, or perhaps if Dale Jr. ever made it to Cup Series racing and got a charter, maybe that's where he would build and grow his legacy. But I do think this year you are going to see Connor Zilisch win a race. I think one max. I don't think he's going to be this rookie sensation by any means. I think he's going to win at a road course and be competitive at a good amount of road courses. But I think he's going to still struggle at a lot of different tracks. The Cup Series is extremely hard. Rarely do you see a driver just bounce right up and in and just dominate, or be very good and consistent. It really just doesn't happen. This is a tough series. I like Zilisch. I think he is one of, if not the most talented rookies we've ever seen. And I genuinely mean that. I mean, there's been some incredible prospects over the years. But I still think he's going to struggle. I mean, it just happens with the best of them. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski. Chase Elliott didn't win a race for what, till year 3 or year 4. Byron, kind of, it took him a little bit to come into his own. Larson took him a little bit to come into his own. Very rarely do you see a guy come in, win, and be dominant, especially in this era. Now, there's been some guys like Jamie McMurray came onto the scene pretty quickly. Kurt Busch came onto the scene pretty quickly. Harvick was good right off the bat. But it's a different time. The cars are so difficult. The teams matter so much. And I don't see how this rookie can go into Trackhouse Racing equipment and be a dominant driver throughout the duration of the season. I just don't see it. But I do think he'll get a win, and I think he's going to be a very competent racer in his first year. I just think it's going to have severe ups and downs. Really, like, there's going to be some weeks where this guy struggles, and it's all to learn and grow. And I think when we look at Connor Zilisch in 3 or 4 years, he's going to be a championship threat. He absolutely is. Will it be a track house? Still, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, he's going to be a superstar in short order, once he gets his feet underneath him. So that's my expectations for Zilisch. Again, he essentially is a rookie of the year. I don't even know how that works, but he's the only guy, so he will be this year's rookie to watch. Let's go to number 2. I'm gonna go with most wins next, and I think that's gonna be Ryan Blaney. Bad luck. One of the league leaders in DNFs last year for Ryan Blaney, but just when you look at that team and how strong they were at short flats, large ovals, intermediates, even road courses. This team was on their you know what, and Ryan Blaney has now established himself as a guy that can be consistent and win races. That's a tough thing to do. But I think overall, with how talented Ryan Blaney is and has gotten, and Penske's kind of just, well, I would say really the 12 teams dominance on a lot of different types of tracks. New Hampshire, Phoenix. He had speed at mile and a halfs like Charlotte, Kansas. You look at him at Gateway. And there's just so many types of tracks. Michigan, he has a good history at. Whatever track you look at, even super speedways, this guy is going to have a top five car, week in and week out. And so, my opinion, the bad luck resides a little bit for Ryan Blaney, and a couple of those DNFs where he had really fast cars turn into wins. I think Ryan Blaney leads the series with 5 wins. I want to say I think Blaney gets to 5, maybe 6. I think more 5. I think he's going to have 5 wins and lead the series in total wins next season. That's my prediction there. Most disappointing. I'm going to go to a guy that is on a good team and a guy that has won races, but in very sparse amounts. And that's Austin Cindric. Contract year for Austin Cindric. His dad was let go from Penske, just recently brought back by Penske, but in a specific role, very specific role. At some point, when you're teammates with Joey Logano, when you're teammates with Ryan Blaney, who have won championships, who are consistent, who win races, who are clutch, who finish in the top 10, in the top 5, a lot more than they don't, you have to step up. And very rarely do we see Penske have a third car that is so behind the other two teams. It just, like, it hasn't happened. Like when it was Keselowski in the 2 and Logano there and Blaney, those guys were all doing their thing. So Cindric to only have a Daytona 500 win, a super speedway win at Talladega, and a win at Gateway where his teammate's engine blew up on the final lap nonetheless. You've got to be better. Essentially, the guy's got 2 super speedway wins. Yes, one is a Daytona 500, but the consistency is just not there. This is a guy that does not get top 10s. He does not get top 5s. He does not get top 3s. And he is in really desirable equipment for a lot of young drivers. I think Connor Zillage would love to be in the 2 car. I think Corey Heim would thrive in the 2 car. I think a guy like Sam Mayer could possibly get better results in the 2 car. I think Austin Hill could get better results in the 2 car than what we've seen from Austin Cindric. It's surprising because he was such a dominant Xfinity Series racer for Team Penske. The adjustment period, we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen this guy get consistent results and win enough races on that team with that organization. So I don't know how this is going to change. I think year in and year out, we've thought that this guy can take that next step. But in a contract year where now, your father is not in the position, the kind of leadership position that, would really help your backing in at Penske, I just don't see it. I think he's going to be very disappointing. I think this could be the final year that we see Austin Cindric in a Penske Ford driving the number 2 Ford. He's got to get better results, and I don't see it happening. I don't think that team and that driver has shown enough speed at different types of racetracks. He's very hit or miss. You see him at Daytona or in Atlanta or at Talladega, be aggressive, make great moves, look like he can, be a top echelon guy. And then short flats, every now and then you see, okay, he seems like he can be fairly fast, but not fast enough at mile and a half. Kind of hit or miss, honestly, at this point on road courses, which was a strength of his. And not consistent enough on the short flats where he can get wins. So I think he's going to be disappointing, and I think there might be change at the end of 2026. Biggest drop off. This one is really tough, but I think the biggest drop off, I think you can go different ways. I'm going to say it's SVG. Because I just think that Connor Zilic is going to come here and steal a road course win. I think the field is going to get better at road courses. And I think bad luck is going to play its part for SVG at some of these road courses. Like he had the best possible luck he could possibly have. The cautions really didn't fall in any sort of negative way for him. Not a lot of cautions, so you didn't have to do overtime or late race restarts or stack up and be on a different strategy. It was pretty straightforward in 2026. There's also a brand new event in San Diego. Again, what does that mean for a guy like SVG? And I don't see the consistency getting there on the other types of tracks. So I think he takes a step back in terms of wins at road courses, and I don't think he gets more consistent at the mile and a halves in the short tracks in the super speedway. So overall, much as I like SVG and I still think he's going to win races this year, I think you're going to see a significant drop off in total wins. And I don't think his kind of overall performance is going to improve enough for him to maintain the level he was at last season. Now, there's a lot of people that think he is still going to make the chase. I find that hard to believe. I think there are better, more consistent guys like a Chris Buescher, like a Ryan Preece. I don't know. I'm put like Eric Jones, I think maybe could make a jump and be more consistent. I don't really see it with SVG to kind of balance it all together. I hope I'm wrong because I think he's good for the sport. And I do think it would be awesome to see him win a lot and get better at mile and a half, short tracks, super speedways, you name it. I think that would be great for the sport, but I think we're going to see a fairly large drop off from last year to this year with SVG. Most to prove, I have two. I have a tie here. Number one, the first guy I'll go to is Daniel Suarez. At some point, you're gonna stop getting opportunities. It's just bound to happen. So JGR didn't want him. Stuart Haas didn't want him. Trackhouse Racing didn't want him. Gaunt Brothers, we knew he wasn't really all that great there. I think his best finish in Gaunt Brothers Racing equipment was like 18th. So big teams, popular teams said this guy isn't good enough. And again, this is a guy I don't like to talk bad about. I like Suarez. He's a fun guy to root for. He seems like a great guy, a nice guy. He's proven that he can win a race here and there, but you only get so many chances at the top level, especially where there's kind of a plethora of young guys that are making their way up the rounds. There's a 1-year deal with him at Spire Motorsports. You have to prove that you can get results for this team to build and grow. I don't know. It's tough for me to believe with a guy that, hasn't lived up to his potential in JGR equipment at Stuart Haas when they were still a really good 4-car program at Trackhouse where SVG's winning road courses, Ross Chastain's winning a Coke 600, and much more consistent than Suarez. I feel like there's a lot to prove here for him in a 1-year deal. You got to show that you can at least provide some results for that team. Number 2 is Ty Gibbs. And I know that's probably maybe a hot take for some people to say, well, Ty Gibbs seems like he's set for life in that ride. I mean, are we sure about that? Like, do we think at any point maybe Joe Gibbs would bump him back down to the Xfinity Series for a couple years to kind of regain his confidence? The guy hasn't been that consistent, and he hasn't won enough. Hasn't won a race yet. Now, again, it takes time for drivers to win a race. Sometimes it takes a long time, but this is year 4 for Ty Gibbs. And if you're not winning, you got to be pretty darn consistent. Last year, it wasn't the case. Ty Gibbs should be a playoff driver every year in Joe Gibbs Racing equipment. He missed the playoffs last year. So we've got to see better from Ty Gibbs. I would not be surprised if he doesn't have a great season, he doesn't win, he doesn't make the chase, that maybe Joe Gibbs Racing just says, hey, Ty, we want to regroup with you in the future, but right now, maybe it's best to regain some confidence, win some races, do your thing in the Xfinity series, and when you have your feet set underneath you, when you start to, put it all together, that second chance will absolutely come. But at some point, like you got to get results. And I think Ty Gibbs is under a lot of pressure. I think the fans are going to get very, very loud if he cannot, make a true statement at this point. So Ty Gibbs to me is under a lot of pressure, as is Ty Gibbs. They've got to prove something this year. And then my most improved this is another tough one because I think like the chalk pick would probably be like a guy like Chris Buescher, who will just naturally improve based on the format. He's going to be more consistent. He's going to be kind of a top name, in kind of a level of consistency to qualify for the chase and perhaps make a deep chase run, maybe a dark horse pick to be in it at the end there. But um, there has been sweeping changes at Richard Childress Racing from the top really down. There's been a lot of change over the offseason. Um, Richard Childress Racing has had rumblings about possibly selling or Richard Childress rather, and going elsewhere, finding something new. We obviously saw his name in the news. I think the sweeping changes coupled with the desire and hunger to stick it to NASCAR and be there when it counts. I think that Austin Dillon, not Kyle Busch, Dillon will make the biggest improvement year over year for Richard Childress Racing. I just have this feeling that we're going to see a kind of revitalized RCR this year, and it's going to start with Austin Dillon. Let's not forget, early in this guy's career, he was a pretty like consistent driver. Uh, he was nearly like pointing his way into the playoffs. I'll bring up the numbers here. In 2020, I mean, he was consistent. Finished 11th in the championship standings. In 2021, he finishes 17th in the regular season standing. So he nearly, in no wins, so he nearly pointed his way into the playoffs, essentially the first guy out, of the standings. In 2018, he had a consistent season. Uh, what was it? In 2016, he pointed his way in the playoffs with a consistent run at things. So this is a guy that over the years has shown that he can be consistent and have a lot of top 15s. I think this new, format will change a little bit of the way that a guy like Austin Dillon races. And I genuinely think that we're going to see a revitalized Richard Childress Racing due to the sweeping changes, okay? The desire to stick it to NASCAR and show that this team can still be a perennial, chase playoff esque team. And Kyle Busch too is again in a contract year, possibly his final year with RCR. I think they want to show Kyle Busch that, they're still a desirable place for drivers to go to. And I'm very high, and I could be wrong, but I'm very high on Richard Childress Racing with some of the changes they have made. And I'm interested to see. And I think Austin Dillon is going to be a very, very, very consistent driver in 2026. Now, this one could be all wrong, but this is probably my hottest take and one that I just there's a feeling inside me, a gut feeling inside me that tells me that Richard Childress Racing is going to have a bounce back of a year and still be around. And now I've come to the time where I will give you my champion. I mentioned the guy with the most wins is Ryan Blaney. My champion is also Ryan Blaney. I think he is going to, again, the bad luck that happened last year with, I think, 9 DNFs is going to go down. And those DNFs are going to turn into consistent days. I think he's going to cut those DNFs in half. I think he's going to not have as much bad luck as he did last season. In totality, when you look at, again, mile and a halfs, kind of big 2 miles tracks, short flats, road courses, of course, super speedways, he's going to put the whole package together. He's going to be a model of consistency and winning. And in the end, my champion pick is Ryan Blaney. I'm not really sure if I'll ever waver or change that. I feel pretty confident about Ryan Blaney as your 2026 NASCAR Cup Series champion. But those are my kind of predictions, superlatives, hot takes, however you want to categorize those. But want to know what you guys think. Who is your most disappointing driver? Who do you think will improve the most? Have the biggest drop off, the most approved? Put it in the comment section down below. If you like what you watch, hit that subscribe button down below. If you like the video, give it a like because it goes a super long way for the channel. Always appreciate you guys watching, and we shall see you next time.